joining us today for another episode of What's Your Why Wednesday. Today, I am joined by Windy Lafond. She is the CEO and founder of Genie Notary. Wendy, so great to see you again. We officially met for the first time, not on LinkedIn. We first met on LinkedIn, but from there, we met at the New Jersey MBA conference in October in Atlantic City. And the minute I met you, I knew that I had to hear your story and all about your why. So let's dive right in. So Wendy, I want to hear, why did you start Genie Notary? Like, where did that originate from?
Well, great question. And thank you so much for having me here, Laura. Genie Notary Inc. Actually, Genie is my mom's name. Her name is Genie, and she passed away 2013, and she has 6 kids. So my father died when I was 1, and my mom passed away at 22, and now I'm 30. And so I wanted to have something. My mom works really hard. She brought us to America at the age of 7 or 8 years old. And, it was 6 of us, and she had 1 child, and then she had twins, and then she had triplets, all naturally. And she struggled, my mom barely spoke English. We grew up in Newark, New Jersey. We struggled a lot. I knew my mom was home because whenever we came from school, there was a cooked meal, the house was clean, but we never really saw her. So I knew that, like, when I get older, I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have children, and I wanted to watch my kid grow. I wanted to watch my children grow. And I couldn't do that, working 3, 4, 5 jobs. And when she passed away suddenly, lung cancer. They gave her 12 months to live, and she died 9 months later. And I always said that I wanted to have something that will remember my mother. And so whenever someone say, "Oh, hey, Jeannie," I always smile because my name is Wendy, but her name is Jeannie. And I know that, like, her name, even after she's live gone. Yeah, so I wanted to have something that will remember her. And I wanted to be able to, like, watch my children grow. So that's why I started the company, honestly.
So where did the concept of the notary business, like, how did you connect to that?
So I got a master's in criminal justice, and I was a campus police officer, and I was also a full-time EMT. And so I have all brothers; they're all cops. I have three brothers, and they're all police officers. And I thought I was going to become a cop. And I was on that road, law enforcement, first responder. And I had a friend who says, "Wendy, why don't you try notary? Try doing 1 closing a day and see how that goes." And so I started doing closings. And then there were one point where what I made in 1 day, that was my whole week's salary, because, as an EMT, the pay, rain, snow, hail, you got to go out there, you got to respond to patients, it's a pretty brutal job. And it's a dangerous job too. And then when COVID hit, it was like nonstop, 13-hour shifts. And so I just switched from being a notary to having a notary service, a signing service, because I wanted to replicate myself throughout the whole country. And I said, there's no way I can build a family and have kids in the future and still go out there and do closings. I just can't. And I was always booked. I was that agent, rain, snow, hail, Christmas, Thanksgiving, my birthday. I was out on the road making sure closings happen. I was that agent who had no life. And I love my job. I love closing. I love closing the properties. However, I wanted to replicate Windy Lafond times 1,000. And so I had to make the move from a signing agent to a signing service.
That's great. So, okay, here's COVID hits. Now people want remote notary, right? And this opportunity to be able to do it a different way. So what happened once we went in that direction?
So I feel horrible by saying this, but COVID was so bad for the country. It was so bad for a lot of people, but for me, for my
Yeah,
business, it was amazing. People, law firms don't want to open past 501, or weekends, nights, and then plus interest rates were so
yeah,
low. Everyone's refinancing, and you couldn't do the refis fast enough. And so people were like, what's my alternative? Can I have an agent go out to a hospital, a jail, to someone's work, or let's do it remotely, like the clients inside the house, and then you have the agents outside in the car, and they're
yep.
closing. And so we could not fulfill orders quick enough. And I was also doing closings myself, and then it just got to the point where I'm like, okay, you need to focus, you need to like run the company, and not to
Yeah.
go out. And so, but COVID was so awesome for my company, and
Well,
so
the industry had to change, right? That's what it was. Like you said, the interest rates were so low and people were buying houses, they were refinancing, they were taking advantage of those low rates. And you just happened to time it at that moment, and you changed with the industry. You offered the opportunity for someone to close in a parking lot or on their back deck, or send it out remote or use Ron. So you just happen to be at the right place at that moment, and you excelled, right? And you move forward and you adapted to this change. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And
I
Wendy,
had
I want to also touch on, I mean, number one, when did you actually start the company? When was it?
so Ginny Notary Inc. is a baby, honestly.
Oh, that's what I thought.
We actually became a woman-owned small business about last month. It took us about
Wow.
8 months. But Ginny Notary is actually 1 year old. But I've been doing closings for like the past 3 years. But Ginny, like the signing service itself, is actually 1 year old, coming January. But we've done, it's insane to say, we do like about 300 closings, give or
Wow.
take, a month, nationwide. And I feel like we are successful because we're able to like adapt. So for
Yeah.
example, I hate telling my clients no. And so a client say, Wendy, I have a husband and wife, and one has COVID and one is away at work. How can we make this closing done? I'm like, oh, we do Ron, or I
Yeah.
could send two different agents at the exact same time. One can be in Puerto Rico and one could be in Alaska. Does it matter? We're everywhere, right? So I'm always so flexible, and I always think about ways to help my clients or work with somebody. I feel like that's the key. Somebody asked me once, describe yourself or your company. I said a palm tree, because if you see palm trees, they're very flexible, they're bendable,
Right. They bend with the
and
wind,
they
right?
grow in the strangest place, like a beach in
Yeah.
a scene, and the hurricane hits,
Yeah.
they bend, but they come
They
back,
bend.
yeah. So I say palm tree.
I like that because it's actually funny because I'm out in Arizona at this moment, and I love watching the palm trees because you're right, like right, the way they bend with the wind, and you're so true. How they pop out of the strangest places, and they're strong and sturdy, right? So they're rooted in there. So I like
Yeah,
a palm tree because it's
yeah,
all those things, right?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
So, Wendy, the way that we first connected was actually on LinkedIn. And
yeah.
you've done such a phenomenal job of kind of putting yourself out there and creating this brand and connecting with others. And I want to ask you about that because, okay, the company is only going to be celebrating its first one official year in January. How have you seen utilizing social? Because a lot of our people, especially in the mortgage industry, they're still hesitant about using social media. Now, I love it. I think it's fabulous. So,
Yeah.
what would your thoughts be on that?
So honestly, I'm trying to like wheel back a little bit. I feel like I'm just, I really try to like, and I take your advice to trying to be myself, my
Yeah.
authentic self, because you can't be anything else, and it's hard. So I don't have any social media except LinkedIn. For
Yeah.
even for Facebook, I don't know my password,
Yeah.
but LinkedIn, because I'm very private. And so and I'm like all about family and friends. And so I always say, whatever I do, I want it to be between me, Jesus, and whoever I do it with, right? I like private, I like privacy, but I realized that, okay, when they do all these great things, your company go out and do
Yeah.
all these great things, but no one sees it.
Right.
No one talk about it. So I just try to post and try to sell myself. I read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah.
by Kiyosaki. And
Yeah.
he said, if you are an entrepreneur, you need to learn how to sell, right? And I'm like a salesperson. So I'm like, okay, I need to sell myself. And so on LinkedIn now, I just post on whatever comes to mind that, always hashtag Jeannie Notary Inc.,
Yeah.
because even if no one read what I say, they're going to know my face, and then they're
Yeah.
going to, okay, that's the notary girl, which is fine.
And
So,
that's okay. That's a good thing.
and you know what? Social media will humble you.
Yeah,
Marketing will
that's
humble
true.
you. Yeah, because the things you think is gonna work does not work. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me just put this out there and see what happens. And so it's crucial. It's crucial. And I think it's amazing how, like, LinkedIn, they have all these people in front of you,
Yeah.
and you connect, like someone like you. I wrote your name down. I said, oh my God, I want to meet this person. I want, to be like around her circle. And I wrote your name down, and I connected with you. And now we're speaking,
I know.
and this is my very
And now
first.
you're in my network, right? Now you met other people, right? That are around
Yes.
it. How wonderful is that?
And then this is actually my very first ever interview. And so I'm just like, no way, it's really powerful if you use it, and it's just there. And there's all these people like you, and
Yeah.
there's all these companies that you could just like connect. All you have to do, it's that simple,
Mhm.
So I try to meet every single LinkedIn person I can meet in person. I just do, so
Wow,
it's
that's a whole nother level, Wendy, to be honest, because I mean, you probably have thousands of people on your LinkedIn, and the fact of trying to meet each one of them at some point, that's powerful. Because just like you coming to meet me, I mean, it was great that I knew who you were on LinkedIn because I see your posts and you knew who I was. But
yep,
once you meet in person, that's a whole
it's
nother level.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
connected now. Like now we know each other personally in addition to professionally. And
exactly.
that is the true definition of social
Yep,
media, because the
yep,
social part is us coming together.
yep,
Just liking things or posting things, that's not social. The social is where the bond comes together, and that's
yeah.
where business and relationships and friendships grow. So for everybody out there listening, number one, make sure that you connect to Wendy. Make sure that your hashtag Jeannie Notary, it's Jeannie Notary, right?
Notary Inc. Yes.
Ink. All right. I want to make sure
And,
I
and
added
we
the ink.
and we just added a Jeannie Notary Inc. Page, because I knew we were going to have this
Good.
interview, and I'm like, I definitely need to like have its own page.
It
But
needs.
yeah, it's like all my mentors, people like you, people like Byron, like
Yeah.
Paul, all these people I found on LinkedIn. Someone was like, oh, how do you know this person? And I'm like, oh, we were LinkedIn friends, and now we took a picture and we talk. And when I say, hashtag beyond friendship, beyond the
Yeah.
MBA, I really do mean that, because I've met so many awesome women who
Yeah.
are so supportive, and they go in and they write me messages in my in my inbox, and they're like, Wendy, like, you're going to be great. And they send like email introductions and to other people. And it's so worth whatever they're charging us on LinkedIn now. And I'm not even getting paid to say this. but but it's amazing how anybody you want to meet, you can, if you connect with them, and if you put in the steps to even like a lot of conferences. I didn't know they were happening. So I'm like, oh, Laura's going to be here. I want to be there. Or, oh, Paul Kim was going to be here. I'm going to be there. And
That's
then
right.
I just do, I'm not a stalker, but but I just try to go to places that people who are striving, who are doing better than I am, who are at their peak. I'm like, okay, whatever they're doing, they must be doing something right, because they're going to this event, meeting this person. Okay, I need to, probably go to that
You need
event.
to be in the room, right? Because that's the room where it happens. That's the room where it happens. So you have to put yourself in that room. And I mean, Windy, number one, kudos for recognizing that. It seems almost obvious that you should think this way, but it's not. It is not obvious. And so many people say, well, how is it that this person went from here to here so quickly? Well, obviously it's working very hard and being dedicated to your mission and staying the course, but it's also putting yourself in places with influencers and people that are making moves and making things happen within the industry. You're now part of that circle, and it's faster. You can do it the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way will work. It'll probably take you 10 years, but if you do it this way, it's much faster to be able to do that.
Powerful. All of my mentors have been through LinkedIn.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Well, you are amazing. One final question, because we know why you started the company. We understand what you're doing now. We understand the impact of what you're doing. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be known for in our industry? Of course, it's taking care of the clients and all that kind of stuff, but there's more to this. What do you want the legacy to be?
Honestly, I want someone to say, Wendy's a good person, or Ginny Notary is a good company. It's a authentic company. I want to be able to, so most of my, I pick and assign the notaries, and about 80% of my notaries I assign the closings to are women and minorities.
Oh,
and
that's great.
Yeah, and so I know how hard it is to go out there and work and work and work, and then sometimes you just die. You don't see the benefits. I hope that one day someone's going to say, Wendy Notary or Ginny Notary, she support women, she support minorities, and she's a good, decent human being. And that's all. I just want to have a company and help. I know it sounds very tacky, but in small.
I don't think it's tacky at all. I think it's very special.
Yeah.
And I already know you're on the road of that. And I know the impact that you are making. And it's, it's a little bit at a time. And then all of a sudden this monumental change will occur. And you're already on that road, Windy. And I thank you for that. And I already know you're going to nail it.
Oh, we're trying. We're trying.
You are one day at a time, All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. Wendy, how can people find out about Ginny Notary Inc.?
Well, if you just go on www.ginnynotary.com, you can find us there, and also on LinkedIn, Ginny Notary Inc. And also my page, Windy Lafond. But yeah, if you could find me like, oh, Wendy, I have a closing, Ginny Notary Inc.
There we go. Remember that, everyone. Thank you so much, Wendy. Continue being awesome and impacting the world. Take care.